Good morning. This is Paula at the Jidon Library, and this is Paula's Picks. And today I'm going to read you a book about unusual pets. The first book is called Trees Make Perfect Pets. Trees. Have you ever thought of a tree for a pet? This is written by Paul Sajak and illustrated by Kathy Genron, and I am reading this with permission from Sourcebooks Publishing. Trees make perfect pets. You might want to think about a tree for a pet. Birthdays are the best days for wishes, and on this birthday, Abigail wished for a pet. Her brother wanted a dog, their man's best friend. Her father suggested a hamster. They're so fluffy. Her mom thought a bird would be nice. They make beautiful music. Abigail had another idea. I want a tree. What? They all gasped. A tree? They're the greatest pet in the world. But trees are not a pet, argued her mom. Of course it is, Abigail said. It's quiet, easy to take care of, and can you name another pet that actually helps you breathe? Her family was stumped. Abigail ran to the car. Let's go adopt a tree. Abigail searched the nursery and found her tree. He looks friendly. It's a tree. They're all friendly, her brother said. I'll name you Fido. You and I are going to be the best friends. Abigail and Fido were always together. Shouldn't trees sleep outside? Her father asked. Fido would be lonely without me. Abigail took good care of Fido. She watered to him, sang to him. They loved going on long walks. What are you doing? Her neighbor asked. I'm taking Fido for a walk. That's a tree. Trees don't go for walks. This one does. He's my pet. A tree is not a good pet. Cats are much better. Oprah Whiskers can cuddle. Fido loves a good hug. Oprah Whiskers can do tricks. Stay, Fido. Good boy. Oprah Whiskers keeps me warm at night. Fido keeps me cool during the day. Have it your way, her neighbor said, but a tree isn't a real pet. Abigail took Fido to the dog park. She knew it was important for pets to socialize, but some didn't agree. I'm sorry, this park is for dogs. Fido is a dogwood. That doesn't count. He's very friendly. His bark is worse than his bite. Sorry, actual pets only. Abigail didn't care what other people thought of Fido. She didn't mind that Fido couldn't go where other pets could. She didn't mind that Fido was only good at fetching kites and didn't like to give them back. She didn't mind that he sometimes had accidents. None of that mattered because Fido was her pet. But like all pets, Fido grew. Walks became more difficult. Fido was a tight fit in her room at night, and the breakfast table became crowded. There are leaves in my cereal again. Honey, Fido is too big to live in the house. He needs a permanent home, her mom said. But Fido is my friend. Where would he live? Outside. A tree belongs in the ground, her father explained. Abigail's heart broke. Fido had grown too big for the house. Keeping him inside was not fair to him. She found a sunny spot in the yard and dug a new home. But Abigail wasn't ready to let go. Worried that Fido felt scared and alone, Abigail kept him company under the stars. When morning came, Abigail woke up to birds singing. "Mom, Dad, come quick!" Her family rushed outside to see what the commotion was. Fido made new friends. "I guess a tree can be man's best friend," her brother said. Abigail hugged Fido. "A tree is everyone's best friend." So would you like a tree for a pet? I think that would be pretty cool to have a tree for a pet. Well, now let me read you about another unusual pet, My Pet Book, written and illustrated by Bob Stack. A pet book now. First a tree, now a book. Most pets, you know, are cats and dogs. Go out and take a look. But there's a boy in Smarty Town whose pet is a little book. He never cared for puppy dogs, and kittens made him sneezy. He pleaded with his mom and dad, "I want a pet that's easy." "A book would make the perfect pet," he heard his mother say. And Dad had read that no pet book had ever run away. So they strolled right past the pet store to a shop with books for sale. Not one had whiskers, fur, or fleas, or a waggy little tail. How could the boy pick out just one? Too tough for this book lover. But then a small book caught his eye. A frisky red hardcover. Of all the books within the store, he liked this one a lot. The pages crisp, the printing fine, its spine so very taut. He didn't need to give his pet a name like Rex or Spot. It wouldn't answer anyway, and so the book was bought. It never ate, it never drank, it couldn't do a trick. It never shed, it had no fleas, it couldn't fetch a stick. It never needed bathing, and its ears would never droop. But best of all, that little pet, it didn't even poop. A better pet you couldn't have for graceful evening strolls. It wasn't like those ill-bred dogs that drink from toilet bowls, or like a cat that always sleeps or won't turn off its purr. A pet book never makes a sound and doesn't lick its fur. Inside the book were many tales of awesomeness and glory. The boy imagined as he read that he was in the story. The boy would leave his pet book home. When off to school he'd go. But one day, when the boy returned, the book was gone. "Oh no! He ran away! The boy began to bleat. How could a pet book run away without a pair of feet? The maid could hear the crying boy. That sound was such a rarity. "I think I know what happened. I gave your book to charity." While cleaning out the house of junk, the maid had grabbed a box and filled it full of household things like cups and plates and socks. The pet book must have simply been swept up while on the floor, and then the mix and all, straight to the old thrift store. They raced downtown in hopes that they would find it on the shelf, just sitting there and waiting near a dusty Christmas elf. It wasn't hanging with the coats or sitting with the chairs. The pet book wasn't with the lamps or snoozing with stuffed bears. Of course, they went through all the books, the new ones and the old. The pet book wasn't anywhere. It must have just been sold. They slumped down on a musty couch, and in unison they cried. But then the maid leaned in and asked, where would a pet book hide? The boy had never thought of that. He broke into a smile. He remembered something he had seen by the dog and cat stuff aisle. If I were just a scared pet book, I'd likely sneak in there. Perhaps the dark would help me hide and make me disappear. Then with his hand, the boy reached in to feel around each nook. And then he pulled out to see he'd found the lost pet book. It was in the doghouse. They drove back home, the three of them. The pet book checked for wear. The boy was quite relieved to find not one torn page was there. A crazy day they had indeed, yet the story ended well. And now the boy and his pet book had their very own tale to tell. The boy's mom gently asked him how a book could bring such joy. It's 'cause every book's a friend, said the yawning little boy. His eyes were sleepy from the search and all the time it took, but now the boy could dream all night with his lost and found pet book. Every book is your friend. So why can't a book be a pet? Now let me read you a book called The Best Pet of All. It's written by David LaRochelle and illustrated by Hanoko Wakiyama. The Best Pet of All. I thought a book was the best pet. I thought a tree was the best pet. Now here's another one. On Monday, I asked my mother if I could have a dog. A dog is a good pet, I said. No, she said. Dogs are too messy. See, she's thinking of the dog digging. On Tuesday, I asked my mother if I could have a dog. A dog is a very good pet, I said. No, she said. Dogs are too loud. See, she's thinking of the dog barking. On Wednesday, I asked my mother if I could have a dog. A dog is the best pet of all, I said. No, she said. No dogs. On Thursday, I asked my mother if I could have a dragon. A dragon, she said. I have never heard of a dragon for a pet. She thought a bit. If you could find a dragon, you can keep him for a pet. Dragons are not easy to find. There were no dragons in the park. There were no dragons at the beach. There were no dragons in the woods. And there were no dragons at the zoo. At last, I found a dragon. This dragon was in the drugstore. See him? He was wearing dark glasses and a hat. I asked the dragon to come home with me. The dragon said no. You can sleep in my bed, I said. He still would not come. You can play with my toys, I said. The dragon said yes. Dragons like to play with toys, but they do not like to put toys away. They do not like to help with chores, and they make a mess in the kitchen. They roast hot dogs in the living room, and they dance to loud music all night long. My mother did not like this dragon. She asked the dragon to please leave. The dragon would not go. Then she told the dragon to leave now. The dragon still would not go. Finally, my mother got angry. She stomped her foot. She told the dragon to leave this minute or else. The dragon just shook his head. He went back to eating spaghetti in the bathtub. Too bad we do not have a dog, I said. Dragons do not like dogs. The dragon looked worried. Dragons are afraid of dogs, I said. The dragon began to shake. A dog would chase the dragon away, I said. The dragon ran to his toy box and jumped inside. Maybe you're right, my mother said. Maybe we need a dog. I put a sign in the window. Dog wanted. Soon, there was a knock at the door. It was a dog. The dragon saw the dog. He grabbed his hat and ran out the door. Thank goodness we have a dog, said my mother. A dog is a good pet. My dog wagged his tail. Yes, I said, a dog is the best pet of all. So he got his dog by having a dragon first, huh? So the last book I want to read you is called The Stray. It is written and illustrated by Molly Rutan. The Stray. Yesterday morning, we found a stray. You see him? Right there in the crashed ship. He didn't have a collar and he didn't have a tag. So we brought him home. We named him Grub. We thought we could teach him a few things like sit, stay, down, come. But it turned out he wasn't even housebroken. Look what he can do. So we took him for a walk. He seemed to enjoy meeting the neighbors. We created chaos, huh? When we got home, Grub settled down. We thought he would be happy being part of our family. But it turned out Grub didn't seem to be happy at all. We wondered if it was because he already had a family somewhere. But we didn't know where in the world they could be. So even though we didn't know where to look for them, we tried our best to contact them. Found. They sent out flyers. We thought they might be impossible to find. But it turned out they found us. There's Grub. We were sad Grub had to leave, but it felt good to know he was happy and was back with his family. And who knows, maybe we'll see him again sometime. Maybe. The end. Well, thank you for listening to Books About Unusual Pets. And what I have for you is a kit where you can make a pet rock, another unusual pet. So we have these kits at Giant. You can just come and ask for one. And here's mine that I picked. Inside is a bunch of material, all different types, and a rock, of course. And you can look through all the material and decide how to make your rock. So in mine, there was some flannel squares of different colors. There were some feathers, some white pipe cleaners, a piece of light blue yarn, and a piece of this really pretty ribbon. and the rock, of course, and a couple of eyes. So what I did, here's my pet rock that I made. I used the really pretty ribbon because I liked it. And I was wrapping the ribbon around. I was going to make it like on the bottom of the face, but then after I saw it, I thought, I'm going to glue the eyes on top of it. And of course, it works best if you use white glue. You also need scissors to cut like the ribbon or the yarn or other material. And then I used the yarn for the hair. I glued it on, and then I tried to fluff it out a little bit up there and up there. So there's the hair. Oh, I'm holding her by the nose. And the last thing I did is cut a tiny little piece of the flannel and made a little nose. So there was my pet rock that I made from the material. I also grabbed a Sharpie and gave her a little mouth. You could do that too. You're going to have a lot of material. So if you make one rock and you have still material left over, go out in the yard, see if you can find another rock, make some more pet rocks. Just make sure that you wash off the rock, because if it's all dirty, it's hard to glue things to it. And thank you for joining me today. I'll be back next Monday with a steam story. Goodbye.